Hey, this is Ariana Rollins, and you're listening to Mindful Manifesting Podcast. I'm so glad you're here. How do you transfer your ability to manifest in your personal life into manifesting your business goals? That's exactly what we're talking about today on the podcast. But before we do, are you stuck in status quo? Are there dreams that you've kind of given up on, but they won't go away? Well, I invite you to kickstart your dream online retreat. We'll have 3.5 hours together. It's fun. There's movement, there's music, there's time for exercises and connecting with others. Details in the show notes. So let's talk about the ability to manifest our skills in our personal life. And let's talk about why for many people, it's not transferable. Okay, a couple things. First is in our personal life, we hold it more lightly. We hold it gently. So, for example, I was speaking to a business colleague this week, and she told me that she had manifested her dream home for her and her husband. She knew exactly what she wanted. She saw the place. She imagined herself ironing in the place. She imagined herself having meals with her husband. She made it a living dream in her mind. And then, as dreams sometimes do, they become reality. And for her, it was a reality. That's big, right? To manifest your dream home and have no idea how you're going to get there. Another business colleague and I were talking, and she told me she wanted a particular car. I think it was a hybrid, and it had all the bells and whistles. It was a lot more money than what she was currently driving, and she manifested it. Now, I don't know all the details of how either one came to be, but they were pretty amazing because these were something that were a 10 in desirability, super important, super meaningful. They had complete congruence. They really wanted it. There was no contradiction. There was no well, maybe I really don't want that really nice hybrid car, or yeah, maybe I don't want that gorgeous house. One more story. This is from a client who became one of my best friends ever. She told me after a relationship ended, and it was a conflictive relationship, a lot of game playing, and she was committed to having a particular person who was grounded and loving and present and would do just wonderful, spontaneous things for her. Well, she told me that she would fall asleep at night imagining herself with her partner in vivid detail. Well, guess what? She manifested her perfect partner. And they're together now, and I don't know, what has it been? 20 years? Long time. 15, 20 years. And the person she manifested had these wonderful, warm, loving, nurturing qualities that she could not have probably even imagined all the goodness that the relationship would come to bring her. But she was congruent. She was aligned. Are you starting to see a theme here? There was no contradiction. There was not I kind of want a relationship, but I kind of not. She knew she was someone who thrives in relationship. So there was complete congruence, alignment, conviction. Conviction, isn't that an interesting word? She had conviction that it would happen. There were no doubts. She was living it in her mind. Hence, why I invited you all to the Kickstart Your Dream Retreat. There is power in dreaming. Sometimes dreams too do come true. And one of the things that I found extremely helpful is what I call photoshopping your life. Men do this naturally. I figured this out years ago. Is when they decide, you know what, now's the time to get married. And men do things like that. Females, they're in relationship, they're dating someone hey, I'd like to be married to this guy. Guys don't do that. They know now's the time to get married. I've got a stable job, and I can commit. Females are just way different when it comes to that. So in this example, a man told me he photoshops his girlfriend into his life. So for example, he loved football games. So he would imagine her there. And if someone he was dating was not into football, well, it didn't fit. Men can be so much more pragmatic than females in finding partners. And then he would Photoshop her in going skiing, traveling, because that was something he loved to do. So he could imagine her enjoying a ski trip with him. Well, if he started dating someone that didn't like skiing, well, it's like, oh, it's not a fit. So there were certain things, I wouldn't say these are big deal breakers, but this man was looking for a kind of quality of life. And that just doesn't happen spontaneously. You find someone who has similar needs. Not needs, but desires. They like to play at skiing. They like football, things like that. Board games. Chess. So those are all things that are not important. We don't usually put that on our dream partner list, right? So photoshopping your business goals into your life, what would that look like? Well, let's back up for just a moment. Congruence, alignment, conviction. All those examples I gave you with perfect house, perfect relationship, perfect car, perfect quotes around it. There's nothing really perfect, but it really suits you. Okay, let's say that's perfect. My definition right here. Well, they were completely aligned. The timing was right and everything. But let's say most people have business goals around income. Now, say that you have set an income goal in the past and you fell short of it. It's really common. When you're self-employed, you don't know exactly how many clients you're going to onboard, how many seats you're going to sell in a program. You just don't. But you do the tasks, and you it's a wish and a prayer. Right? It's impossible to calculate. That's why when we set a budget, it's projections. We kind of have a sense of our expenses. Those are usually fixed. We have an idea. But income? No, it's hoped for, it's wished for. But what if you had set objectives, and I do like that word, objective. It's moving towards something rather than goal, but you'll hear me say it interchangeably. You set an objective for income month of at least $10,000 a month. Now, it's not too far of a stretch. Last month was $8,000. So you're like, that's 20% increase. I can do it. But what has happened is there now is a gap of all the times, gap in terms of potential disappointment, potential failure, because you had not achieved your income goals in the past. And again, as a self-employed person, we cannot control our income. I'm going to tell you in a moment what you can control, and that's what we're going to work on about manifesting your business goals. So as the month starts to unfold, you're now in the third week and you're at 8,000. Excellent, right? You guys got 2,000 to go. But what can happen for many people is they start to relax. Like, I've got this. I got a whole week. I made 8,000 already. I'm on. This is going to happen. And they start to just rest, sit on their laurels. What a weird term. I don't know. Maybe it's a Roman term. Laurels, laurel leaf. I don't know. But they just start to kind of relax. Maybe they take a little bit more time off and they're just like, I know it's happening. The evidence says I'm going to do it. Well, we switch out of that attentive gear. We're no longer striving, in a good way striving, not pushing and forcing, but in a good way striving for that. We have this assumption, and if you look at the word assume, and it's ASS, you and me. That's a terrible thought. But when we have assumptions that we've got this, that part of us that says, yeah, right, nah, you didn't do this before, it wakes up. So how do you do it? How do you hold that income goal lightly, but with intentionality? This is key, and this is something that I'm playing at successfully and happily, and I'd like to share it with you. So one of the things that, again, you can't control is your income as a self-employed person. You can control your expenses. What can you control? Your activities, your behaviors. And to some degree, you can control your thoughts, which then influence your feelings and emotions, which then influence your behaviors. And I'm going to tell you how you can have greater mastery over that, because that's key for this to work. So what you do is you figure out in a very gentle way, not a forcing kind of SMART goal way, but we're going to borrow some of the SMART goal tips, which I really like, is you write down the actions that can help you to achieve that objective of $10,000 income month. Do you know what they are? Maybe look at your past good months. What were you doing? Analyze it. Use your perspective, your hindsight of, wow, you know what? I was posting on social media every day. I was doing Facebook Lives. I was sending newsletters out once a week. Oh, I was regular with my podcast. I was creating coffee connections with people and they turned into affiliate partners. So start to look back at those months or those weeks where you were consistent with your actions and pick the top 3. I'm calling it this. In fact, this came to me just this week, which I really like. It's my metrics. I'm not someone who's ever really measured that before, but my metrics for my business is going to be just 3 things. And if I've accomplished those 3 things in the week, I'm a success in terms of what I can control are my actions and my behaviors and any thoughts and feelings that can get in the way. I'm going to master those. I'll tell you how to do that in a moment. So, for example, mine is a newsletter once a week, whether I like it or not. Social media at least twice a week, whether I like it or not. And I don't like social media a whole lot, but I know it can be effective, and there builds consistency, and consistency builds trust. And then the third thing is podcast. Well, I love to do the podcast. I don't usually have to kind of whip myself into a frenzy like, you got to do your podcast, Ariana. You got to record it. You got to do all this. No, I love it. The other 2, I'm learning to love. Okay. So those 3, now those are within my control. And you're going to have probably a lot more than I do right now. But I've got some a really great new client I've onboarded, and it's really good. They're requiring a lot of my time, which is very helpful, and they want me to train their people. So I'm looking at what can I be consistent at. I'm not overreaching. I'm not stressing myself. I am looking at what's going on in my business, what's going on in my life, and what can I commit to. Okay? It's a really good word. Commit. What can you commit to? What actions can you commit to and be consistent and do no matter what? So even if it's a Friday night, it's 10 p.m., you've curled up in your warm, cozy bed, and you're like, I didn't send my newsletter out this week. Are you going to get out of bed and do it? You don't have to send it like live. You can send it on Saturday morning. But what are you going to do? You're at choice point now. And this is the difference between manifesting personal goals and business goals. Business goals or objectives usually matter a whole lot more to your bottom line. And they are, for some people, make or break. It's really important that they achieve their income goals. What are you going to do? That's completely within your control. But if you committed to those, my suggestion is get out of bed, and I've done this before, and I've done that social media post. And then I curl back up in my warm bed and I feel proud of myself in a good sense of pride, not from an egoic mind sense of pride, but I followed through. I'm in integrity. And by the way, integrity is your words match your actions match your words, on and on and on and on. Being in integrity is huge for you to manifest income goals or any of your business goals. Okay, trust. Let's go back to that. So trust is you can predict someone's behavior. So if you're an online business owner, are you consistent with your newsletter? I have not been. I'm going to be this year. Are you consistent with social media posts? Not just when you have an idea, but are you consistent? And what happens is it builds this natural unconscious, at the unconscious level, with the people who are meant to work with you and would love working with you, is that I can predict his or her behavior. And that makes me feel safe. And when I feel safe, I lean in, I open up more. And I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to follow them a little bit more. Listen to their podcast. Follow their news feed on Instagram. That's not news feed, but you know what I mean. So I hope you're getting some tips out of this, because manifesting our business objectives and goals is different. It's very different from personal. So let's talk about the next thing, the last thing, and then we'll wrap up. So you've got your actions, you've got your behaviors, but you're not doing it. You're doing other things instead, other things that you're good at, other things that you enjoy. And those things that you had committed to, those metrics that you're going to measure at the end of the week, you're not doing them. You've got something in the way. You've got a mindset issue. What we like to call in my work is a blocker. A blocker, you ready for this? It's not a very kind definition, but it's the truth. Hard truth. It's a self-defeating unconscious habit. Self-defeating unconscious habit. If you would like to master those self-defeating unconscious habits, I strongly recommend you at least jump into the Kickstart Your Dream Retreat, online retreat, because we're going to talk about those. And then I'm going to give you some tips, some gentle ways to start to get some management around it. And then if you'd like to know how to permanently transform self-defeating habits like procrastination, negative mindset, doing everything but your income intentions and objectives and goals, things like that. There are ways to permanently change those. Goes a little bit more beyond the Kickstart Your Dream Retreat, but you're going to get a lot of good content to start to soften the edges of those behaviors so you're more consistent. All right. So as we wrap up, it's really important to be gentle and loving on yourself. So important. And you know, if you've listened to the podcast for a while, if so, I thank you. I'm so grateful. And if you're new, I like to think of our body as a storehouse of our unconscious mind. That's not really a psychological term, but it works for me and it works for my clients. So if you think about your unconscious mind is like a 2-year-old child. It's willful, it's playful, it's loving, and guess what it loves most? It loves encouragement. It loves acknowledgement. It loves positive feedback. Guess what it hates most? Being criticized, attacked, put down, and beat up. And that's usually what we do to try to get ourselves to be better, perform better. And that's exactly the opposite of what will get you into inspired action. All right, thanks so much for listening. And if you'd like to kickstart your dream retreat and you'd like to play at photoshopping different aspects of your business, your life, I'd love to have you there. The details are in the show notes. And remember, as you confirm yourself, you chart your own path to success. So much love. Bye for now.